Hello, vinyl community. Bill here again. And today I'm going to jump on the thread started by Alan at his channel Static Traveler. And the topic that threw up lots of questions and had me thinking, so I thought I needed to do a response, was his video, How Do We Value Our Collections? So with thanks to Sid Oselid, who's a sort of comedian in Aberdeen area, his answer to describe yourself in 3 words was efficient. So describing my collection in 3 words would possibly be efficient, but efficient, eclectic, and enthusiasm. Not sure about that last one, but efficient because in the world, Scotsmen, as maybe also Dutch, are thought of as careful with their money. And within Scotland, the town that has an equal reputation for people or inhabitants being careful with their money is Aberdeen. And I'm an Aberdonian, so yeah, I want to get value for money. So that is a sort of underlying theme to building my collection. But first of all, I wanted to cover this bit, tune into record profits, vinyl that proved to be a very sound investment. So there's mention here of the Beatles' White Album going for 730,000. The Quarrymen, that'll be the day for 200,000, etc., etc. So yeah, I've catalogued my collection on Discogs. It's around about 1,000 albums, so probably 2/3 of that in vinyl, then majority on CD, but occasional cassette as well. So I've also made reference to this book as well, Record Collector Rare Record Price Guide 2020. Why did I choose the 2020? That was a momentous year anyway. But this has got good stuff, and it's great when you read through these and you find an album that you have that is potentially worth a couple of £100 because it's in the mono version and original pressing, and sometimes has an unusual label or whatever. But I think, as I said, my collection is quite efficient. When I was a teenager, probably mid to late teens, I got this Rock File 3 book. Now it had a couple of sections. One was Charlie and Simon's Hot 100 Singles. So this was, before the internet, you couldn't find lists like this. So this was supposed to be a list of 100 singles that you should own that would define rock music between 1955 and I think 75. And then they had a section on 100 LPs that you should own. So this had things from Roots, the birth and growth of teenage music. So it had Buddy Holly's Legend in it, and all the way through, the book falls apart, through to Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. You can see that I've been marking up this book when I had a copy of the album. So in it, they had From Britain Emerges, from washboards through acid to world beaters. So this had included the Beatles with the Rolling Stones' first album through to Tommy by The Who. So that book was really an inspiration or a source and I would go to the record library and borrow these records before I parted with hard-earned cash. And I think I had a Saturday job at a supermarket stacking shelves. So it took a little while to raise enough money to buy an LP. And I think I remember I bought Genesis Live because it was only £2. And I think the average price of an album at that time was £3 to £3.50. So, but I'm going to show some important albums. So I trying to complete David Bowie collection, but this is an important album because, and I value this one because this was my very first David Bowie album, and it's also one that my wife had a copy of. So when we were first going out with one another, music was a very important part of our dialogue and our shared enthusiasm for David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, the Who, the list goes on. So yeah, David Bowie's Hunky Dory, very important album to me and invaluable in the collection. And of course, I was listening to the radio, and that's how I got into the blues. And this is an important album because it's Dr. Strutt's Strutting. And the opening track, called Strutting, was the theme music for the Alexis Corner blues show on Radio 1. It used to be on a Sunday evening. So that exposed me to blues, and was the start of building a collection. So I've got lots of CDs with Charlie Payton and Booker White and J.B. Lenoir, and I've also got vinyl of Robert Johnson and Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Another important to me, and this is one of the gems of the collection, is a single CD, and it's from Joe Buzzard's Down in the Basement, and it's a treasure trove of vintage 78s, 1926 to 37. And that also got me interested in early music. And if you want to really know about the value of a collection, check out videos about Joe Buzzard. There's a few on YouTube and some featuring him. And he collected 78s of early jazz and early blues. And the value of his collection was such that people were saying that it should be donated to the Library of Congress. But he would say, no, I'm not going to do that because they'll sit in a vault somewhere and never be played. So the value of your collection is the records that you play again and again and again. Not sure if this is exactly what Static Traveler wanted, but yeah, this is a very important album. This is priceless to me. This is my very first LP bought. I thought it was progressive rock at the time, but yeah, Deep Purple's Fireball, fabulous album and quite highly valued for an original pressing, according to that record collector Rare Records Guide. So yeah, we spoke about, or Alan and others have spoken about completists, and yeah, I'm a kind of Who completist, but this is the record that is again priceless to me because it was the first Who album that I got. So I'm a completist with regard to studio albums. So I bought Endless Wire maybe about a year ago, and I must confess I haven't played it much. So should I have that record in my collection? Yes, because it completes my Who studio albums. But yeah, this is my worry, and I think maybe many of you are in the same boat. Are we now addicted to buying records to increase the number of copies in our collection? Or are we buying them for the music? Should we limit ourselves to buying a couple of LPs a month? So like when we were in our teens, early 20s, before we got responsibilities, that we listen to our records and enjoy the records. We evaluate the records, we get into track by track, we know the lyrics word by word. Now, I can't say I can do that for Endless Wire. So next up, we've got the unusual, and I love this album, Jack White's Lazaretto. As I said, I was introduced to the blues by Alexis Corner, but Jack White takes sort of revamped blues, electric blues, you know, a new take on the blues to a different level. And when you get a record that you have to play from the inside to the outside on one side, and then you flip it over and the track has two intros, acoustic or electric, I think that makes record collecting really enjoyable and something intriguing. Now, question is, should I buy another copy so that I can take the label off and play the hidden tracks under the label? I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. The other thing, and here I want to say a big thank you to my friend Derek. I bought this album with the zipper maybe a year or two after it was originally released. So I'm not sure if this is an original pressing, but this is important to me, again, because it's my first Rolling Stones album. But my friend Derek, I think it's a couple of years now, maybe 3 years now, gave me some Rolling Stones albums. So I got mono pressings of Aftermath, Beggar's Banquet, and a couple of others. And I'm ashamed to say, he was clearing out his loft. I'm ashamed to say that I was offering him about £5–10 per copy, but he said, Bill, you're my friend, you can have these for free. Then when I got home, looked up in this guide and found out how valuable they were. So I did treat him to lunch, but not to the value. We didn't have any caviar, etc. But yeah, so thanks to Derek. He was then able to sell some of the records that I had already got copies of to a record shop, and was able to raise cash for a cancer charity. So well done, Derek. And yeah, I was glad to later be able to tell him the value of some of his records. And I still feel a bit uncomfortable about owning these records that are maybe valued at over £100. And he gave them each. He gave them to me as a gift. So that's real friendship. And thank you again, Derek. Now, Alan, our Static Traveller, did speak about things for the design. Now, I did get this one very early, not in the 60s, but I think it's a early 70s repress. And I love this album. I love the music on it. The second side with the Tales of Happiness Stan are just fantastic. I love the artwork on it. I have to do this carefully. And yes, I've now had to put it in a sleeve with a piece of cardboard to stop it rolling off the shelves. But that's a great album, and one that I just love having in the collection. Would I want one of the original pressings? Not really, because I've got the album. I've got it in the circular cover, and that particular album means a lot to me because I bought it just, well, maybe 5-6 years after it was a hit. So in those early days of collecting, some of the records that were released in the 60s were deleted from the catalogs. So you couldn't get My Generation by the Who. We had to wait a little while. I got a 2-for-1 with the My Generation Magic Bus. And that was important that I had the music. So I'm not sure we had many record fairs in Aberdeen or secondhand record shops. So, and I wasn't independently traveling around Scotland, so I couldn't pick up some of these records easily. So I was so bowled over to get My Generation and hear Out in the Street and tracks that weren't on Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy. So monetary value, yeah, I've got a spreadsheet. My wife's singles, which includes the original Rolling Stones and things by Love and King Crimson's Cat Food, things like that. Her singles collection's worth maybe £400-500. My ones with valuable records only came up to about 150. So the other thing is about reissues, and yeah, I bought a copy of the Beatles box set in stereo, paid several £100 for that. I was told that I probably should have discussed that purchase with my wife before I bought it, but she's forgiven me, and she's not worried about how much I spend on records really. But yeah, I want to tone it down a wee bit. But that Beatles box set has been my best value for money purchase, I think, because the number of plays, and if you divide the cost of the box set by the number of albums in it, plus that beautiful book, then it's really good value. And then if you take how many times have I played each of these albums, and it's countless times. Love the Beatles now, although I equally love the Rolling Stones, which are my wife's favorite band, and I really love the Who too. So yeah, I love the extent of my record collection. So I value my Eddie Cochran, my Bill Haley, Buddy Holly, right through to De La Soul and American Epic. I love the recordings, the sessions that Jack White did on that 1921 recording equipment. To me, that's valuable because it shows the history of music and how we can get enjoyment from these recordings. So one last thing to show, another lockdown purchase, shown this a few times, cigar package, Phonotone Records. So this goes back to Joe Buzzard, and these were records that he made in the 50s and 60s. And these were sort of country music, jazz music, etc. And really fabulous collection. So I think it's 5 or 6 CDs, and I paid about £60 for it on Discogs. And this is now one of my prized possessions. So blues, jazz, folk, rock and roll, alt country, Neil Young, lots of vinyl records. Todd Snyder lists all these people that he has on his vinyl records track. And yeah, it's really important. And I love my collection. I'm now replacing records that I got rid of. Why did I get rid of them? Yeah. Last point, I now have 3 new records. Well, new, but they're reissues. And they have become very important to me because they were bought with the prize voucher that I got from Randy Nelson. So thank you, Randy. And Randy is one of the people that I've met through making YouTube videos for the vinyl community. If it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't be watching Randy's channel and Static Traveller and Mazzy and Richard McCook and all the countless others. Scott Spinner, one from Dunbar in Scotland. Love watching these videos about the collection. And as Static Traveller says, it's lovely to see somebody's face light up when they tell you about a holy grail that they've now got. And yeah, to me, that's priceless. So a bit rambling on, I will show the 3 records that I won by taking part in Randy Nelson's competition in a video to come out soon. So I won't spoil the surprise, but they are now priceless albums in my collection. Hope you found this interesting, and I would encourage you to jump on Alan's thread, Static Traveller channel, check it out, subscribe to it, and yeah, let's share this wonderful journey that we've been on. I've been on this journey since 1970 and still collecting, still got ones that I need to add to the collection, and going into a record shop is still such a pleasure. Bye just now, take care.